everyone, and welcome back to another Storytime video. And today I am going to be talking about stocks and the market as a whole, and my experience in trading with it. So, stocks and such. Because it's mainly going to be about stocks with a little bit of miscellaneous about other stuff, whether that be bonds or CDs or whatnot. Now, uh, first off, I just want to say that this is not investing advice. I'm not a professional investor, and I'm just sharing my experiences with trading in the market. So, again, this is not financial advice. I'm not a professional financial advisor. If you want professional financial advice, go seek a professional financial advisor. I am just a YouTuber and an IT guy. I am not a professional uh, uh, person in that regard. I lost the word for whatever reason. I'm not a professional. Go seek a professional if you want advice. Now, with that out of the way, here's my experience with stocks and trading over the past year and some change, no pun intended, but year and a couple months. Uh, First off, the market can be a bit deceiving at times, and really, kind of what the market dictates off of is basically um you know opinions of a company like McDonald's or Toyota or Walmart or Pfizer or Valero. I'm just trying to think of all the different like gas and energy, shopping, food, automotive or transportation, whatever you want to say, like Wells Fargo or, uh, for your finance. Whatever people's perception of that company is, I think factors into it a little bit. Now, again, I'm not an expert with this, so take all this with a grain of salt when I say this. But it's like if a company has a really good quarter, like say Coca-Cola has a really good quarterly report that comes out, that can really make the share price and the stock as a whole go up. But if they don't have a good quarter and they kind of struggle because maybe they ran an ad campaign where people were like, "Ooh, think like New Coke." I guarantee you. Now, I haven't looked at metrics from 40 years ago in this regard, but I guarantee you that after New Coke was released, that uh, the stock price for Coke went down, and probably as a mere result, the stock price of Pepsi went up. So something like that might happen. Take the BP oil spill that happened 15 years ago. BP wasn't looked on very fondly after that for a while. So their price probably went down. Uh, but anyway, so that's how something can go up or down. Now, sometimes when one of the major things like Coke does go down, sometimes it kind of impacts its peers, like your Dr. Pepper, your Monster Energy, your Pepsi, maybe. Uh, So, and then, if something very positive happens with like Toyota, then Honda might benefit, Stellantis might benefit, Ford might benefit, GM might benefit, all that stuff. And so that's kind of a very rough, and I mean very rough rundown, because when you start to get into the nitty gritty of everything, that's why I would recommend you talk to a financial advisor. Partly because I'm just an idiot that doesn't know everything when it comes to that stuff. I know enough to get by and do well, or do decently well. I don't know everything. I'm not an expert. I can't just look at a stock and go, "Yep, that's bullish," or "That's bearish." I can't do that. I are you are you kidding me? Heck, no, absolutely not. But anyway, so the way that I typically trade is that I will have uh 30 different stocks in an app. Now, I trade in multiple apps. So, I might have 3 in banking or finance. So think your Wells Fargo, your Regions, your uh, um, State Street Bank, your T. Rowe Price, stuff like that. And then so I might have 2 of those, and then I might have one credit card company like Visa, MasterCard, Capital One, Discover. It doesn't matter. So I might have 2 banks and one credit card company. And then I might have some technology, say Dell or Seagate that makes hard drives, Western Digital that also makes hard drives, CrowdStrike, which if you remember, yes, from about 6-7 months ago, whatever it was. But I might have some sort of technology like that. Um, and then I'll probably have 2 or 3 transportation. I might have a car brand. Think, like I mentioned, your Stellantis, your Ford, your GM. I've even had a Ferrari in there as well, which I currently have in one of the apps. Now, and then, like, I'll have some gas and energy. So I might have 2 gas stations, so like Valero and Exxon Mobil, and then I might have some sort of green energy or 2 green energy in only one of the gas stations. And then I'll typically have some healthcare. Think your Pfizer, your Moderna, your AstraZeneca, companies like that. And I'll probably have 2 food and 1 drink, or 2 drink and 1 food. So think like Constellation Brands that makes like Modelo and Corona, your Mexican beer, or Coke, or Pepsi, or Dr. Pepper, or Monster Energy, or something like that. And then, so in terms of food, think about it like I might have McDonald's, or uh, Texas Roadhouse, or Wendy's, and stuff like that. I've had Del Monte, the company that makes a lot of canned vegetables, and I might have Dole as well. But so I try to have a wide variety in what I have in terms of not only categories, but in terms of between different apps, having 2, not really having the same stock in 2 different apps, because what if that stock does not do well for a time? Or what if that type of stock does not do well for a time? Like, look, healthcare stocks for the first 3 months last year, 3 or 4 months last year, did not do that well. And so, had I put all my eggs into that basket, I would have really struggled for the first few months. Now, on the flip side of that, uh, there were a few months in July. I think it started at the end of June, if I'm remembering correctly, but pretty much July, uh, August, September, and somewhat October. Bank stocks were doing really well. Now, of course, had I put all my eggs in that basket, I would have done better than I did. But, there's really no surefire way to know, hey, maybe I shouldn't have healthcare stocks for these first 4 months. And maybe starting in the summer and the early part of late summer, early fall, I should have a whole bunch of bank stocks because those are going to be golden. No pun intended there. But it's like those are going to be phenomenal. And so, but I just kind of try to diversify my portfolio as much as I can so that if something does struggle or something does really well, then, it doesn't really hurt me if it doesn't do well. And, of course, I would love it to really do well, like everything do really well. But you know what? I realize that not everything is going to do really well all the time. So, do I expect that? Heck no. Heck no. Uh, and by the way, too, never put in more than you lose. Or never put in more than you are willing to lose. So, my ultimate goal is a set number between all my assets. Okay. I funded 10% of everything. And then from that 10%, it's going to build on the other 90. So, say I have a $5 investment in Coca Cola. They have a really good quarterly report to where that stock really jumps overnight. And I'm able to trade it and sell my shares for like $6 or $7. Okay. So let's say that I had $100 invested between 20 $5 stocks. Okay. And with the fact that I sold Coke for like $7 instead of $5 because I had them when they had a really good quarterly report and I've held on to them for a bit. And so I have been able to, so that's been able to get me a 40% profit. Okay. So I would take that $7 and I would invest it. Well, I'd first off take the $5 and reinvest it into another drink, Dr. Pepper, whatever, or Monster, Constellation Brands, or whatever. You guys get it. And then I would take those extra $2 and go, okay, do I want to make that drink $6? Or do I want to put something, or do I want to put $1 or two into something that's not doing so well, such that when it goes back up, I'm able to make more profit out of it or make profit easier? Or do I want to spread it to just a couple random ones? You know, so now my total is 102. And say it's 1,000 based on going that 10%. Now, those aren't the actual numbers that I'm looking at, by the way, and that I'm doing, but this is just a hypothetical. Well, now I am 10 point, I believe 10.02 to my goal instead of just the 10% to my goal. So then that 10.2% can fund the rest of the 89.8% that I would love it to fund. And So that's kind of how I do things. And of course, everybody would do it a bit differently, but that's just my stuff. And by the way, yes, I do have to report the fact that I do make some money off of this on my taxes. Now, it's not enough to where I will get taxed. Like, they'll take some of the money that I've earned throughout the year because it's not quite as much, but I still have to report it on my taxes every year that I do my taxes. So, here in a few weeks, I'm gonna have to talk to my tax person and go, hey, well, here's what I've made between these apps. So here you go. Even though it's not enough to be taxed, I still have to tell them, hey, well, I made X amount this year based on stocks. So yes, I do have to report that stuff on my taxes. Uh, because it is income that you made throughout that year. So I totally get it. I don't mind doing it because I believe, now I might have to look up and refresh myself on this, but I believe that they only take 10%. So in my eyes, I'm like, oh, so even if I made enough to where they would want to take 10%, I don't care because that's 90% of what I didn't have before. Let's just say that I gave you $10, right? And then I made you give me back $1. Guess what? You have $9 that you didn't have before. Are you going to be mad about the $1 that I take back? Possibly, but you shouldn't because you have $9 extra to do with whatever you wish. So really, I don't mind reporting it on my taxes partly because of that. I'm like, look, I didn't have this to begin with. And, if you want to take 10% of something that I didn't have before and that is just extra income because I work full time and I rely on my job for my income, obviously. So that trading is just extra money that I make. It's not my livelihood. That's part of the reason why I don't mind reporting it on my taxes, even if they didn't take anything out. Like, I don't care if they want to take 10% of, whatever I made out of that. Because, I mean, what I make enough, or what I make at my job is enough. I I trade stocks partly because I have a superhuman ability when it comes to numbers and being able to figure that out. I mean, you guys might remember from last April that yes, I do have autism. Now, I'm no Rain Man. I will say that. I'm no Rain Man when it comes to when just because I have autism. But the autism, I believe, helps me be phenomenal with numbers. And so I have this gift with numbers. And so why not use the gift to make a little extra money? To make another 5,000, 10,000 a year. Why not? Because over the course of 10 to 20 years, that's an extra 100,000. That could easily be a trip to Europe or a couple trips outside of Europe over the course of 10 to 20 years. I mean, shoot, I would gladly take that. But anyway, so again, I'm not a professional advisor. This is not professional advice. I'm just an average idiot, really. When it comes to, well, I'm not an idiot, but I'm an average person, just like you potentially. But yeah. And so yes, guys, I do believe that will do it for this storytime video. And it's like storytime video. I will see you later. Goodbye, guys. Thank you all for watching. And